She is one of the most famous women who ever lived. Her name has been spoken for over 2,000 years. Movies have been made about her, novels written, operas composed, paintings painted. Elizabeth Taylor played her in the most expensive film ever made at the time. And almost everything you know about her is wrong. The beauty? Exaggerated by her enemies. The seductress? Roman propaganda designed to destroy her. The snake? Almost certainly never happened. Egyptian? She wasn't. The real Cleopatra was something Hollywood has never been brave enough to show you. She was the most intelligent ruler of the ancient world, a military strategist, a published scientist, a linguist who spoke 9 languages, a queen who nearly kept her civilization alive against the most powerful empire on earth. And when Rome finally defeated her, they didn't just kill her. They spent 2,000 years rewriting who she was. Welcome to Dark Chronicles, the stories history tried to hide. This is the real Cleopatra. Cleopatra VII. Cleopatra was born in 69 BC in Alexandria, then the greatest city in the world. But despite being born in Egypt, she was not Egyptian. She was the daughter of Ptolemy XII, a descendant of Ptolemy I Soter, one of Alexander the Great's most trusted generals. When Alexander died in 323 BC, his empire was divided among his generals. Ptolemy took Egypt, and his family ruled it for nearly 300 years, speaking only Greek, never learning the language of the people they governed, never truly becoming Egyptian, until Cleopatra. She was the first and only ruler in her entire dynasty to learn the Egyptian language. Not just Egyptian, she mastered 9 languages total: Greek, Egyptian, Latin, Hebrew, Arabic, Ethiopian, Persian, Aramaic, and Syrian. She published 2 known texts, one on the care of the human body, one on weights and measures for medicine and trade. She studied mathematics, astronomy, philosophy, oratory, and military strategy. Egyptian sources described her as a ruler who elevated the ranks of scholars and enjoyed their company. She took the throne at 18 years old, alone, in a kingdom in decline. With Rome, the most powerful empire on earth, circling like a wolf. Almost immediately after taking the throne, Cleopatra faced betrayal from within her own family. Her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, was technically her co-ruler and husband, as was the tradition in the Ptolemaic dynasty. He was 10 years old when she took power. She was 18. But his advisors saw an opportunity, and they used the boy to push Cleopatra out. She was forced to flee Egypt. Gathering an army in Syria, she marched back to reclaim what was hers. Then Julius Caesar arrived in Alexandria, the most powerful man in the Roman world. Ptolemy's forces controlled the city. Cleopatra couldn't reach Caesar safely, so she did something extraordinary. She had herself wrapped in a carpet, some accounts say a linen sack, and smuggled directly into Caesar's private quarters. When the carpet was unrolled, there was Cleopatra, in full royal regalia, standing in Caesar's private chambers, uninvited, unannounced, completely in control. Caesar, who had met kings, generals, and emperors, had never encountered anything like her. The ancient historian Plutarch wrote that Caesar was immediately captivated, not by her appearance, but by her audacity, her brilliance, and the sheer electricity of her presence. They became allies that night, and Caesar helped her defeat her brother. Ptolemy XIII drowned in the Nile during the battle. Cleopatra was back on her throne, and Rome was now her partner. Here is something historians rarely discuss. Cleopatra didn't just rule Egypt politically. She understood something that no ruler before or since has used quite as brilliantly. Religion is power. She deliberately presented herself as the living incarnation of Isis, the most beloved goddess in the Egyptian pantheon. Goddess of wisdom, healing, and magic, the mother of all things. She dressed as Isis in public ceremonies. She spoke in religious language that positioned her as divine, not just royal. The Egyptian people didn't just obey her, they worshipped her. When she met Mark Antony for the first time, she arrived on a golden barge with purple sails and oars made of silver. Dressed as Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love, to appeal to Antony's Greek sensibilities. Surrounded by attendants dressed as sea nymphs and cupids. The spectacle was so overwhelming that Antony reportedly sat alone at a banquet he had arranged in her honor, because everyone else had left to watch her arrive. That wasn't seduction. That was theater, politics, genius. Cleopatra understood that power is as much perception as it is reality, and she controlled both. Cleopatra's relationships with Caesar and Antony were not primarily romantic. They were the most sophisticated diplomatic strategy of the ancient world. Egypt was a wealthy but militarily vulnerable kingdom. Rome was the most powerful military force on Earth. Without Roman protection, Egypt would be absorbed. Cleopatra knew this from childhood. Her alliance with Caesar produced a son, Caesarion, whom she hoped would one day unite Rome and Egypt under a single dynasty. A Greco-Roman Egyptian empire that would be the most powerful force in history. Caesar's assassination in 44 BC destroyed that plan. Cleopatra returned to Egypt, watched, waited. And when the power struggle in Rome produced a new leader, Mark Antony, she moved. She built a new alliance, a new plan. Together, Cleopatra and Antony controlled the eastern half of the Roman world. They had 3 children together, and Cleopatra was named Queen of Kings, ruler of Egypt, Cyprus, and vast territories across the Middle East. She was building an empire to rival Rome itself, and Rome noticed. Caesar's adopted son Octavian could not allow Cleopatra's plan to succeed. An Egypt-Rome alliance under Cleopatra and Antony would make him irrelevant. In 31 BC, Octavian declared war, the Battle of Actium. Cleopatra commanded her own naval forces. She was there, on the water, directing the battle personally. But they were outmaneuvered. Cleopatra broke through the blockade and fled, trying to reach the Red Sea and escape to India to rebuild her forces. But the escape route was cut off. Antony's forces collapsed without her. Antony received false news that Cleopatra was dead and fell on his own sword. He died in her arms shortly after. With Antony dead and Octavian's army at the gates of Alexandria, Cleopatra was captured. Octavian needed her alive for his triumph parade in Rome, to display the defeated queen to Roman crowds as proof of his conquest. Cleopatra refused. She had watched Julius Caesar's triumph parade as a child, when her own sister Arsinoe had been paraded through Rome in chains. She would not give Octavian that satisfaction. Cleopatra died on August 12, 30 BC. She was 39 years old. The famous story that she killed herself by allowing an asp to bite her is almost certainly false. Historians point out that smuggling a venomous snake into a guarded room would have been nearly impossible, and an asp bite is an agonizing, uncertain death, not the peaceful departure ancient accounts describe. Most modern historians believe she used poison, likely a combination she had studied herself. She was known to have researched methods of painless death, specifically to avoid being captured. The snake story served Rome perfectly. It fit the narrative of the dangerous foreign seductress, undone finally by her own exotic nature. A woman who lived by the serpent, dying by the serpent. Beautiful, dramatic, false. Octavian had her son Caesarion, 17 years old, the last descendant of Julius Caesar, executed days later, eliminating every possible rival. Cleopatra's tomb has never been found. Archaeologists have searched for decades. Alexandria's royal quarter now lies 20 feet underwater in the Mediterranean Sea. The greatest queen of the ancient world rests somewhere beneath the waves, still keeping her secrets. With Cleopatra dead, Octavian got to write the history, and he wrote it brilliantly. He needed to justify the war against Antony, a Roman general and triumvir. Romans didn't like attacking other Romans, so Octavian reframed the war. It wasn't a civil war against Antony. It was a war against the foreign seductress who had corrupted and bewitched him. Cleopatra became the villain of Rome's story. Roman poets like Horace wrote of her as a fatal monster, a queen of depravity who had nearly destroyed Rome with her contaminating foreign influence. The historian Lucan called her a lascivious fury. These were the accounts that survived, because Octavian, who became Emperor Augustus, controlled what was written, preserved, and remembered. Egypt's own accounts of Cleopatra, written in Egyptian, described her as a brilliant and beloved ruler, as a goddess, as a mother of her people. But most of those texts were lost when the great institutions of Alexandria fell. What remained was Rome's version: the seductress, the temptress, the monster. And that is the version that reached Hollywood. That is the version that reached you. Here's the truth about Cleopatra that 2,000 years of propaganda buried. She ruled Egypt for 22 years, the longest reign of any Ptolemaic ruler. Under her leadership, Egypt's economy was revitalized, trade flourished, agriculture expanded. Alexandria remained the intellectual capital of the world. She was the last pharaoh. After her death, Egypt became a Roman province, never again an independent kingdom. She held it together, alone, against the most powerful empire on earth. For over 2 decades, she spoke 9
languages and wrote 2 published texts that were still being studied centuries after her death. She trained herself in medicine, law, economics, and military strategy. She personally commanded forces in battle. She nearly built a kingdom that would have changed the ancient world. She was the most powerful woman of the ancient world, and possibly its most brilliant mind. The coins minted during her reign, which show her actual likeness, show a woman with strong, angular features, a large, prominent nose, the face of someone who looked like a ruler, not the face of someone who looked like Elizabeth Taylor. History didn't lose Cleopatra. History was made to forget her, deliberately, systematically, by men who feared what it meant that a woman had nearly beaten Rome. Cleopatra spoke 9 languages, ruled for 22 years, kept Egypt independent against Rome, alone, was a published scientist and military strategist, never used her looks as her primary weapon, died on her own terms rather than become a trophy, and was rewritten as a seductress by the men she almost defeated. Her tomb has never been found. Her greatest works were burned. Her true face is known only from coins that look nothing like how she's portrayed. The most powerful woman in the ancient world is still buried somewhere beneath the Mediterranean Sea, still keeping her secrets, still waiting to be found. Subscribe to Dark Chronicles, because every week we return to the stories that someone somewhere desperately needed you to never find. The next one is even darker.